Welcome to episode 21 of A New Way to Love, Live, and Lead. I'm your host, Cheryne Blom, a master coach, author, speaker, and the founder of the Self-Mastery Hub, your center for self-inquiry, healing, and growth. This podcast is here to remind you of one powerful truth. Midlife isn't a crisis. It isn't the end. It's a climax, the beginning of your best chapter yet. Each week, we explore how to move from fear to empowerment, from self-abandonment to self-connection, so you can love, live, and lead from your truth and personal power. This is all about midlife mastery. This episode is all about self-leadership and leading from connection, not survival. And here's something I want you to hear clearly today. If you're feeling anxious, reactive, overwhelmed, or stuck, you are not broken. You are disconnected and you are in survival. And survival is not a personal failure. It is a nervous system response. So many people think self-leadership means being disciplined, strong, confident, decisive. But that's not where self-leadership starts. Self-leadership doesn't begin with control. It begins with safety and feeling connected within ourselves. Because when you're in survival, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, your body is not designed to lead. Your body is designed to protect you. And this episode is about understanding the difference between living from survival and leading from self-connection, and how to gently, powerfully shift from one to the other. So let's start with this. You cannot self-lead from fear. You can only self-lead from connection. Self-leadership isn't about pushing yourself harder. It's about being the calm, grounded, inner authority your nervous system trusts. And that's why this episode sits exactly where it does in season 2, because self-leadership is not a stand-alone skill. It is the result of everything we've been building. Over the last few episodes, we've been talking about the roadmap to self-connection, self-awareness, self-control, self-respect, self-trust, self-worth, self-compassion, and self-expression. When these layers integrate, self-leadership emerges naturally. And there was a time in my life where I looked like I was leading, but internally I was reactive. I was people-pleasing. I was stuck in my patterns, overgiving, overfunctioning, second-guessing myself. I wasn't leading my life from my power. I was reacting to all my external pressure. This is about taking all that pressure and expressing it through power. When I was disconnected and in that pressured state, I outsourced my decisions. I looked for external expectations and validation. I had such a fear of rejection. And without knowing, I was trying to keep myself safe. That fear of rejection and being judged and being abandoned by others, the illusion that I was living in, was keeping me small and keeping my nervous system in a very active state that only leads to burnout. And what we don't realize is when you're disconnected from yourself, something else leads. We have fear, our deep habits, the habits that are trying to keep us safe, the patterns, the conditioning Our trauma is being triggered rather than our truth and our wisdom. And we're always seeking approval. That's the deep safety. Our nervous system, the ego, is leading. And the ego is not seeking for inner peace. The ego is seeking to prove ourselves, to say, I am worthy, I am good enough, I am seen. And it was only when I learned to reconnect to myself, to regulate my emotions, to listen inwardly, to trust my body, that leadership stopped being exhausted and started to become an embodied practice, where I let my power lead and not the internal pressure. So let's define this clearly. Self-leadership is the ability to stay present in your body, regulate your emotions, respond instead of react, make decisions aligned with your values, hold yourself with compassion and integrity. Self-leadership means you no longer lead by your wounds. It means fear no longer drives the wheel. When you're in survival, you know it because you feel this internal pressure. You react emotionally. You seek validation. You abandon your needs. You avoid conflict, or you explode. You feel scattered or stuck. You lack the clarity that you need to function in a clear, grounded state. When you're in self-leadership, and you've heard me over the last episodes talk about this as a state of grace rather than in that ego conditioning. When you're in this connected state of self-leadership, you pause, you self-regulate, you speak clearly, you set boundaries, you choose intentionally. And here's the truth. Self-leadership is not control. It's coherence. It's connection. Self-leadership is not learned in a book. It's built through the layers of connection. And let's go through those layers again. Self-awareness. This is you saying, I notice what's happening in me. Self-control is when you can say, I can regulate before I react. Self-respect is about saying to yourself, I honor my boundaries and my values. I respect my truth over my pattern. The next layer is about self-trust, believing in yourself. Then we move to self-worth. I know that I am enough, valuing yourself, which takes you into self-compassion, where you can respond with grace and acceptance and understanding, not judgment. And from there, you have the layer of self-expression, the ability to speak your truth calmly and clearly. And when these are integrated, self-leadership becomes effortless. So here are 5 daily self-leadership habits that help you lead from connection, not survival. The first habit is the daily check-in. When you wake up in the morning, or as you feel yourself being emotionally activated, ask yourself, what am I feeling? What do I need today? What matters to me today? What is my body asking? This instantly brings you into that state of awareness. And this keeps leadership internal, not external. It means you are tuning in. You are attuned to your needs, not seeking anything outside of yourself. Habit number 2, pause before action. Oh, this is key. You've heard me speak about this so many times in past episodes, the power of the pause. Leadership lives in that pause, in that moment where life just stops and we choose to take one breath And that one breath can change the trajectory of a conversation, a decision, or your day. Habit number 3, regulate first, decide second. We spoke about anxiety in the last episode and how self-connection is about being regulated. When you are dysregulated, your nervous system is too activated. So, by regulating first and decide second and leaning into that pause, you never make a decision when dysregulated. Self-leadership waits for calm. It is not impulsive. It is grounded and strategic. Habit number 4, speak from alignment. Before speaking, ask yourself, is this true? Is this kind? Is this aligned? And habit number 5, keep small promises to yourself. This is about integrity. And I've spoken about it in previous episodes when it's about building trust in yourself. When you honor yourself and keep your promises, you build that muscle of self-trust. And remember, self-trust grows through consistency, not intensity. And here's your self-connection practice for this week. Take one hand, place it on your heart, and one hand on your belly. Take a slow breath in through your nose and exhale slowly out your mouth. And just take a few more breaths, inhaling slowly, exhaling fully. Allow your breath to bring you into your body, where you can feel the sensations and start to regulate your body. And repeat quietly, I am safe in my body. I can pause. I lead myself with calm. Feel your nervous system soften. That is self-leadership activating. And your reflection question for today is to ask yourself, where in my life have I been reacting from survival, and what would it look like to lead myself with calm and compassion instead? And here's what I'd love you to remember from this episode. You are not broken. You are not behind. You do not need fixing. You need reconnection. Because self-leadership isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you already are. And please help me spread the love of this podcast by following and rating. And remember to share this podcast with someone who's ready to move from survival into self-leadership. Thank you for joining me on this episode of A New Way to Love, Live, and Lead. And remember, you're not too late. You are right on time. And your best, most connected, powerful chapter begins right now.